Welcome to Mid-Missouri Art News, JCTV, out of Jefferson City, Missouri, the capital of Missouri. Today I'm honored to have back with me on the Mid-Missouri Art News our very first guest, Mr. James Jimmy Mustion, who was with us back on October 19th of 2016 as my first guest. And so a lot has happened in Mr. Mustion's life with his art, etc., since then. And then we turned to a young man by the name of Joshua Hartzler, who is known by the name of the Duke of Atrz, and that's with a Z. Welcome to Jefferson City, Missouri, JCTV, known as Mid-Missouri Art News, supported by many enthusiasts throughout the United States, Missouri, and overseas. We've been having viewers from Brazil, China, Italy, etc. So we thank you all for being with us as I turn to my first guest, Mr. James Mustion, who will be with us later on in the second segment. It'll be artist Joshua Hartzler. So if you will, turn with me and welcome, first of all, artist and more, as we'll learn, from James Mustion Sr. We call him Jimmy here at JCTV. I'm your host, Rick J., so stay with us. Well, Jimmy, if I may call you by your first name, I was honored to have you, like I said earlier, on the very first Mid-Missouri Art News, October 19th of 2016. You shared your passion for art and how you became an artist at that time. You also shared your basic life story to date, as we learned so much about you in that presentation. Invite people to go back and take a look at that original show on number 1, if you will, to catch up a little bit on Mr. Mustion. I know you've reached out to many artists, art lovers since that time. And personally, I began attempting to bring things together, the art communities of Missouri, with your help. And so so if you will, share this vast amount of skill, talent, and passion of art, if you will. You'll just take as much time as you want to share with us today and our viewers how you have accomplished so much since sitting at the round table in 2016. So tell us a little bit where you've been since. In a sense, I know I'm going to be asking you about some recognitions that but your life, what's happened to Jimmy Mustion since 2016?
2016 was a turning point. I think when I was on the show before, I was getting ready to be in an all-women's show with posters of my model, Connie McKenzie, that I had colorized.
I see.
And colorizing has become very important to my artwork. I had just begun painting large paintings in oil and acrylic back then. Maybe 4 feet by 4 feet, sometimes larger. And I would do my basic painting in oil or in acrylic, and then I started adding glitter. And when I started adding glitter to my paintings, I started winning prizes.
Yes, and we're going to talk about some of those. You are known, as we've sort of titled you here on the show and around the community, as the Glitter Man. So as you can see a piece for us on the camera, and we'll be sharing some of those pieces with the viewers as we chat.
In 2017, I was juried into the Missouri State Fair. Oh, top 50, and I won an honorable mention. And I started winning first, maybe third place, then second place, then first place, and then pretty soon I was winning something in every year that I was entering in.
Yes.
My coloring in black and white photos with color has played heavily into that. People have appreciated that.
Yes.
I've taken many old 8x10 black and white photos that I took over the years and added color to them, and it gives them a whole nother dimension.
Right. Now, when we first met, you was worried about people and viewers, how your art would be accepted. So I guess the thing I wanted to get across is no matter what your art is, you don't worry so much about, you've learned not to worry about so much about what people think about your art, because you're going to have some that do like it, and you've learned from that.
Yes, I believe now that you should only compete with yourself.
Oh, yeah.
The other artists have something, other vision that they're trying to put into their canvases. And what I'm trying to do, I call it abstract surrealism.
Right.
And in the 70s, people didn't like those. They were incongruent. But people accept those terms readily nowadays.
Yes, they do.
I just think that, especially if you're starting out in competitions and like that, you just should take into consideration what your limitations are financially, to compete with some of the people have their own businesses and sell online and all of those things. I don't do any of those things. So, I think as advice for young artists just starting out, or seniors starting out, don't try to compete with the other artists. Just try to do better yourself each time, and better what you believe in.
Now, the piece behind us, we have somewhat of a shot, and we'll have a better look on the timeline. Can you describe the piece that is before us?
Well, this is one of my favorite people. I have 3 favorite people in Jefferson City: Betty Shrimp, Harriet Camp, and Carol Norton. And this is my portrait of Carol Norton. I've done it in 3/4 face like Picasso. It was done from here to here as a photograph, and then the rest has been added in. Nothing is the same color that it was. It's, she's pictured as part of a stained glass window. She's got holy objects. She's got South American holy objects and American Indian holy objects, and palms from Palm Sunday. The inscription says, "I love you, angel."
In Chinese?
In Chinese.
In Chinese.
There's a spirit guardian and a protector.
Jimmy, Carol Norton, she's an artist herself, has been on the program. We did a field taping with your sisters.
And I was able to film her.
We both have fell in love with Bill and Carol. And you may recognize the name, as they live on the property that overlooks the conjoint of the Osage River coming into the Missouri River. As you're going east out of Jefferson City, you're going to see the Lewis Clark / Norton area with the parks, the different Missouri parks. So they live on the land. That land will go to the Missouri State for, I guess, more viewing of the conjoint of those 2 rivers. So, but Carol was in the school system painting for years, and she's been recognized for her art. So that's another program on Mid-Missouri Art News, Carol Norton, that you might want to tune in. Carol suffers from a MS, and so her artwork is outstanding, like Jimmy's. Well, great to share that with. I think that's one of my favorite pieces, especially knowing the basis for it and the person that it.
I tell you what, I have several spinal injuries, and I've had many operations trying to correct them. Have many more to go.
Yes.
And Carol, the first time I met her, she explained to me that she had heard about my injuries and that she identified with, I believe she identifies with my pain.
Yes. Well, you have so many, a lot of different subject matter, which we'll share on the timeline. I do want to, while we're still looking at the time, not only has your artwork come before us, but Mr. Mustion is now writing a column for the Jefferson City Tribune newspaper and her magazine. And that's called
On Display.
On Display in the newspaper. And her magazine speaks for herself.
It's gone through many changes over 2 years. But now we've arrived at something that is over a half-a-page article. It's in the style section of the Sunday News Tribune. It's online every day, although the color photos are only in on Sunday. And we feature many artists and information about many galleries and events.
Yes.
And in Her magazine, we feature primarily one artist and many different entities around the state that are holding events.
Right.
You're going to be in the newspaper on display next week, I believe.
Yes, I believe it is. I thank you so much for that, featuring me. And people are going to learn a little bit more about Rick J. and the artists and what have you. So,
and
thank you so
believe
much.
You're going to be our guest on display in the magazine coming up.
I think you did share that with me, so I sure appreciate it. Maybe it'll be a kind of an insight to Rick J.
I have a couple of more things I'd like to share.
Sure. Mm-hmm.
I'm currently doing a show over at the Department of Motor Vehicles at 1617 South Ridge Drive. It's open daily, closed on Sundays. It'll run from May the 3rd from April 3rd until May 14th. And it will include some artwork by Joshua Hartzler. Great. And I will also be featured on the website for JCAC. It's www.jeffersoncityartclub.org. I believe.
I believe it's .com.
.com. Right. And it will be for the same period from April the 3rd until May 14th.
So you're getting a great presentation being featured now from a big turnaround in Mr. Mustion's art in the past year and 2 years, almost a half.
And I just won another award in the Adult Fine Arts Show. I took third in mixed media.
Mixed media third. Yeah. So you've got to get out to these different locations. That's the DMV on the south part of Jefferson City, and on display now in the Adult Fine Arts Show with Jefferson City Art Club. That's at Capitol Arts on Missouri Boulevard. So if you want to see Jimmy's work and his glitter, definitely you've got to drop by. We can only cover so much of the realism here on the show, so I invite you to get out and visit some of these shows if you're in the area. And anything else there, Jimmy? I think you shared with us maybe last time that you had a new granddaughter maybe on the way.
That was my last thing I was going to talk about if we had time. Was my granddaughter, Noelle Bell. She's 4 years old, and she was born in China while my son and daughter-in-law were on a mission trip, and they live in Texas now. My son is a middle school English teacher, teaches workshops for community theater, does productions for community theater, and runs a local newspaper in Claude, Texas.
Oh, super.
So I'm very proud of the things they've accomplished.
Well, they've got coming up that you shared with me over the phone in our visits. You've got a lot coming up with the newspaper articles and her magazine throughout the year. I think you're scheduled through.
We're scheduled clear through Christmas of this year.
Excellent. You're doing a great job. I hear so much about it. And the gentleman that we interviewed a couple hours ago on Spotlight on the Arts talked about seeing your new column on display. Now, did you, before we leave, did you have a website or email address? If someone wants one of these great works on a commission basis, you have something you can contact with?
I'm not selling anything right at the moment. I collect my own art.
I see.
But if they have a gallery where they would like to show some of it, I have lots of art ready to show. And they can contact the News Tribune at 573-761-0250.
Okay, well, very good, Jimmy. We're just about out of time. So I guess we should say, do you have any other closing words that, especially for the artists, again, just beginning or continuing or having into a slump that, what would you like to say personally? You try to say and attempt to say with your newspaper article, but from Mr. Mustion, James Mustion, Senior, Jimmy, go ahead and give us a word, if you would, for closing.
Don't be too hard on yourself. People tend to be their own worst critics, and I find that a lot of the people who write the best articles for me and turn them in are artists who have never been done anything like that before at all. Okay, and I would say, if you're in a slump, I would say try to think of more diversified things you can do.
Or tune into JCTV, Mid-Missouri Art News.
And find out all the different kinds of art there are.
Yes.
And so many different kinds of artists.
Well, thank you once again for coming back. This is a long period that we've haven't seen you here on the show, so we look forward to inviting you back maybe in another year and a half and seeing what's going on with
I'll be around.
Okay. Well, thank you. On behalf of JCTV and Mid-Missouri Art News, I really do appreciate it. After the break, we meet the Duke of Atrz. That's Joshua Hartzler, who will be surely inspiring you to take a closer look at how he enjoys being a part of the art scene in Mid-Missouri. He's known as the Duke of Atrz. We'll be right back.
Dave, it's your boss. Give me a shift this Saturday.
Dave, you promised you'd take me on a proper date. David, it's Mom. Dave, you owe me money.
Hey, Mr. Sims, I just want to remind you, you owe me 13. Mr. Sims, you can't keep on putting this off, man. I need that money.
You're really not that talented.
You're not attractive.
Too fat.
You're too short.
Too old. Why don't you just give up?
Give up.
Give up.
Just give up.
Welcome back to Mid-Missouri Art News from JCTV here in the capital city of Missouri. I'm with a special guest this afternoon taping at the Missouri River Regional Library here in Jefferson City. Please join me as I welcome artist Joshua Hartzler. It's good to have you with us, Joshua.
It is my pleasure as an artist, as the Duke of Atrz. It's a pleasure to be on JCTV.
Well, thank you. Thank you. Now, Joshua is known as the Duke of Atrz, as it shows on his shirt, and that's Arts with a Z. So Joshua has a lot to share with us, so stay with us as our second guest here today. Well, can you tell us, please, Joshua, how you got started or inspired to become an artist?
Well, actually, I got started as an artist when I was about 5 or 6 years old, way back in 1996 to 1997. And I've been drawing with a pen, and I drew a lot of pirates and a lot of Power Rangers back then when I was very young.
I see. Mm-hmm.
And I kept on drawing and drawing because to me as an artist, it's a good way to express my autism and my mild autism.
So you're speaking of a condition called autism, and you would be known as someone that has really worked through your autism and turned it into artwork. So can you describe what that's like for you, having, I guess we could say, somewhat of a handicap? Not everyone is blessed with such a handicap, but you seem to really work through it. Go ahead and tell us how it feels on your end.
Well, how does it feel to me? It's actually a good feeling. Art is actually a good therapy of mine. I draw Power Rangers, animals, figures, celebrities, Halloween monsters, or fairy tale creatures, and anything that allows me to showcase my talent, to express my mild autism, and to entertain and delight other people.
Very good, yes, and it shows in your artwork, too. Well, can you then tell our viewers some of your favorite drawings and artwork, and we'll include those within the timeline. I know you're really very good at animals, as you spoke, and Power Rangers. I think I have 5 or 6 different Power Rangers that I will be sharing with the folks. And you start with what, a Power Ranger in blue dress?
Well, actually, I started with the Black Ranger, the Red Ranger, the Yellow Ranger, the Blue Ranger, the Pink Ranger, and the Green Ranger. But also, every season of fall, I draw Rita the Fox.
Ah, yes,
and
Rita the Fox.
Oh, yeah. Rita the Fox is actually a comparison to my grandma, Ma Bonnie.
Oh, I see.
And I enjoy drawing red foxes, especially Rita the Fox, who has 3 kits, named after my 2 aunts and my mom. And their kits, and the 3 kits are named Laura, Sarah, and Deborah.
I see. So like all artists, there's always a story behind every painting or every drawing. Well, that's very interesting. Now, how about Bambi? Tell us about Bambi.
Oh, Bambi is actually one of my childhood memories. And I draw Bambi, and I drew Thumper and Flower together because I have always been a fan of Walt Disney's movies, especially Bambi, because it really spoke to me about getting connection with nature, Mother Nature and her creatures.
Excellent. Now, in Bambi, did you know that Walt Disney's daughter is also named Bambi? I met Bambi, his daughter, when I was 18 years old. So I, too, and I actually had a job offer to go to work in California when I was 18 years old with Walt Disney. So I have a lot in my past that I can identify with Walt Disney. Now, what other drawings? You've recently did a portrait of a friend, I believe. Can you tell us about that?
Actually, I drew a picture of a role model, which I look up to because his name is James Sullivan. He lives in Redwood City, California, in Marin County. And I drew him because I look up to him as a role model with Asperger's, which is a type of autism. And I look at him as a person with Asperger's pursuing his dream.
And similar to you, do you want to get your artwork out there? And I understand you on Facebook. How does one view your artwork on Facebook? What's your Facebook, Duke of Atrz?
Well, actually, it's called Hartzler's Projects. And I got about 7,000 likes. Most of them from here in the United States, but also it became really big down in Vietnam. A lot of people in Vietnam liked my artwork. And I got about thousands of kilometers of people in Vietnam that liked my art page.
Oh, excellent, excellent. And I'm familiar with Vietnam. I spent some time there back in that conflict we had. So Vietnam now has changed, and they look at the world in different eyes than they did in 1965, 66, and on through that period of time. So that's interesting. I have one friend named San Lam that does reach me daily on my Instagram. So that's another connection, or what I can share with you in that sense. Well, we're getting close on time. Can you tell us, do you have any artwork at this time on display where people can actually go and look at them?
Actually, yes, I do. It's down on Missouri Boulevard at Capitol Arts. Leanne Perello, the head director, has my artworks displayed down there. And I'm making new artwork projects now to continue on pursuing my dream and pursuing my goal as an artist. As the Duke of Atrz, I'm very grateful.
Thank you. Yes, Capitol Arts on Missouri Boulevard in Jefferson City, Missouri. Well, we're getting again close on time. Would you like to have any closing words for our viewers?
Well, all I can say is I hope you all enjoy. What I'm going to say is I hope you all have a triple great time.
Look forward to seeing you again within the art community of Mid-Missouri. Thank you.